Wow, great to have you guys in church today. Hope you're doing well. How many of you like to binge on Netflix every once in a while? Confess you're in church. Well, I found myself watching this show called Swamp Kings. Turn your neighbor and say, yeah, that's the title of it. It was about Tim Tebow and the Florida Gators. Do we have any Gators fans in the Midwest? None, okay. It's gonna be a little awkward. If you're watching online in Florida, we love Florida. We're thankful for Florida. But the Florida Gators, about Tim Tebow, they won back-to-back national championships. That's a pretty intense thing to do. They were going for 3 in a row, which is really unbelievable. So they were undefeated all the way to the championship SEC game that would go to the national championship. So they got to the game, it was close, down to the wire, and Tim Tebow said something that just resonated. He said, the pressure every single week to be undefeated was almost too much. And they went on to lose that game and win in the Sugar Bowl. However, that pressure can break you. This weekend, I want to talk to you about pressure. Turn to your neighbor and say, pressure. If you're from the 80s, you remember that song, Under Pressure. Ding, 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 ding. And Vanilla Ice stole it in the 90s, if you remember that. So I started thinking about the pressure. Pressure will bust a pipe. Pressure will break you. Or you can let it make you. And pressure is about continual forces that come against you. Sometimes the forces are on the outside, sometimes the forces are on the inside. Think about pressures in your life. Think about the pressure to provide for your family. You may have spouse pressure. You may, if you're a parent, you gotta have some pressure. If you're single and you're dating someone or you're trying to find someone, there's pressure, maybe pressure from your friends. Do you have any singles in the house? Lift up your hands. We'll try to find you someone. Look around, check out your options on Labor Day weekend. You know they're really committed if they're here on Labor Day weekend. You know they love the Lord. But pressure is something that, man, if we don't deal with the pressure, it will deal with us. And so I want to ask you this question in this series, quarterbacks, because quarterbacks, they have a lot of pressure. And we're more like quarterbacks than we realize. We like to call the plays for our own lives. We like to run the show. We like to be in control. I know I do. Yet we have to let Jesus be the Lord of our life and let him be the quarterback. We block for him. We run his plays. And when we do that, good things happen. When we don't, we get sacked. It doesn't work out. We lose the game. And then we feel the pressure. And so I started thinking about the pressure. All of those pressures that we have, how do we deal with them? How do we navigate them? The pressure, it is a real thing. And some today, you're like, Brian, I know what you're talking about. I feel pressure right now. Like sometimes when I come out to speak, I have to take 4 breaths. I have to release some endorphins. I have to have a moment because after a while, the pressure, I think about people that I love. I think people that are going through difficult things. If you know someone in the hospital, if you've got a bad doctor's report, you feel that pressure. And so what do we do when that pressure, how do we deal with that pressure? In this quarterback series, we've asked you each week to evaluate yourself. And so I want you to fill in the blank for yourself. I want you to say to yourself, my pressure is blank. What is your pressure? If you had one pressure in your mind that you're like, okay, I'm feeling the pressure in this. Because sometimes if we don't deal with the pressure and walk into the promises of God, the pressure will paralyze us. And then before we know it, we have anxiety, we have addictions, we've got some stress extra that we've added on ourselves. We have some unhealthy relationships. We start running towards the pressure, and then we're always like, I can't move. What does God want me to do? And so we have to deal with that pressure. We have to deal with those continual forces. I know I'm not the only one who deals with pressure. I know that you deal with pressure. So today, I want to travel back in time. I want to go old school to the Old Testament, one of my favorite people in all of the Bible, a name you can never forget. This guy I'm going to talk to you about today, you'll know him, but you'll know someone that he's related to after today. And kind of to set up the story is, the context is, God had delivered the Israelites from Pharaoh, from the Egyptians. They saw the Red Sea miracle. I mean, if the water opens and then crushes all the bad guys, that would be pretty dope. That would be pretty legit. Every once in a while, aren't you like, God, can I just have a little mini miracle? Just soak their car with water when they cut me off the road. You know, just a little mini miracle. They saw God provide for them food in the wilderness. They saw all these amazing things. And so God's been doing really cool stuff. And then the guy I'm talking to you about is Big Mo, Moses. Moses is there. His wife had gone away. His kids had gone away. They come back. and they bring the in-laws. You gotta love the in-laws, right? Come on, show some love to your in-laws. I have great in-laws. I think my wife would say she has great in-laws as well. And the in-laws come back, and a guy by the name of Jethro, that's Moses' father-in-law. What a name, Jethro. He's about to get Jethrodized. He is, really. Moses, he's working, he's a judge, he's a leader, but every day he gets up early in the morning until the evening, and because he's a judge, he's got 2 million plus people that have walked with him into the desert. He's got to lead them. And so whenever there's conflict, again, nobody here has conflict, right? No one walked into church today with some conflict. Disputes, or in marriage we call them disagreements, whatever they are. Moses would have to handle those because he knew the word of God, and so he had to share the word of God. Hey, this is how you deal with conflict. And if you're a Christ follower, we're called to deal with conflict. We're called to handle conflict in a God-honoring way. But if you're like me, the pressure, my emotions, what I think can get involved, and it doesn't work out good. And so Moses is there day after day, and Jethro's like, Moses, what are you doing? This is crazy. Have you ever watched someone be on the crazy trail? You like watch them day after day and just getting run down, and you're like, what are you doing? What are you doing? So Jethro has a conversation with Moses, and this is what it says in Exodus 18. Tap your neighbor and say, I know you know where this is. Exodus 18. Exodus 18. Jethro says to this young man named Moses. He's a little older, actually. He says, why are you trying to do this alone? Let's say alone. Don't make me say it together by myself. Let's say it together. 1, 2, 3, alone. He says, why are you doing this alone? Verse 16. Moses, he's got a comeback. Love those people that always have a comeback. They got to come back for everything. Hey, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? He has a comeback. He says, when a dispute arises, they come to me. And this is what Moses says. He says, I am the one who settles the cases. So he's doing this all alone. And then he's like, but I'm the one who does it. You know, those people are like, well, I'm the one who does it. If nobody helps, wah, wah, wah. Poor me, I just do all this stuff. It's like, well, sometimes you do all this stuff because you won't let anybody help. It's getting quiet here. Someone got convicted. Verse 17 and 18. He says, this is not good. You are going to wear yourself out. You're going to wear yourself out. So he's saying to Moses, hey, Moses, you're doing this thing. So what is your pressure? What is it that you're doing? You're doing this thing. You're doing it alone. You're the only one. I'm the one who's doing this. And his father-in-law says, you're going to wear yourself out. See, when pressures come our way, we have to realize one very important thing. James, the half-brother of Jesus, said this in James chapter 1, verse 2 and 4. I love the Message translation. It's kind of like the street version of the gospel and the scriptures. But this is what James said. James said, consider it a sheer gift, friends, when tests and challenges come at you from all sides. That pressure is coming from all sides. He says, you know that under pressure, your faith-filled life is forced into the open and shows its true colors. So don't try to get out of anything prematurely. So the scriptures teach us whatever pressure you're facing, God's actually like molding you. He's shaping you. He's making you. Character is formed under the pressure. Character is who you are when only God is watching. You want to know where you are in your faith? See how you're handling the pressure. How are you handling the marriage pressure? How are you handling the promotion pressure? Maybe you didn't get the promotion and you thought you should have got the promotion and you don't get the promotion. When someone else is being blessed and you've been praying for God to bless you, that's the character test. Those are all of these pressure tests, and we get to deal with them. We get to decide what we're going to do. And if you don't deal with the pressure, again, it deals with you. See, the pressure has a plan, and Jethro revealed it. The first thing, he said what? He said, you're going to do it alone. Pressure pushes people away. When you begin to feel the pressure, I've noticed a lot of people, instead of asking for help, I don't know if it's our American culture, we're just like too prideful, we can't ask for help. Come on, who can't ask for help? Or it's difficult. Thank you for confessing. You just did, see? You've just made a step today. Let's show them some love. It was difficult for you to lift up that hand, like, oh, ask for help. And it pushes people away. And can I tell you, when you choose Christ, you get a family. Like, you know, your family that you're related to, you're like, man, I really wish I wasn't related to them. Some of those people, they probably wish the same for me. They're like, man, he's got some issues. We all have issues, but there's family you choose. But when you become a Christ follower, the family of God, you're in the family of God. And it's so important for you to be connected to the family of God. People should know your name. They should know your story. And listen to me, when you go to a church, it takes time. Like you don't, sometimes, very rarely, we're like, all of a sudden you're like, oh wow, they're besties now. They've seen each other for 3 weeks in a row, they're besties. But our heart and our desire is that you're known here, that people know your story, that you're plugged in. The Gospels tell us that the people of God, they met together in the temple, the place of worship, but then they also met in homes. They met outside. It wasn't just a one and done. It was, hey, the church, the family of God, it's a part of my life. That's why it's so important. I want to encourage you. If you're ever feeling like, hey, we don't really know a lot of people. I've been in the church for a while. I mean, some people know my names. I'm involved in some things. But your story, you actually make our church better. Yeah. And I think so often people don't realize that. They're like, well, I just come and I love the church and I'll kind of give to the church. And no, you're a part of the church. What you have to offer the church, you might think, I can't talk on a stage. I can't sing. I can't run the lights. I mean, I don't know what to do. Well, hey, you have to discover that gift. Part of our goal is for you to do that. But you should be known. And so we have coming up after Pumpkin Fest, circles that are starting. Circles are groups of people. One, it's an act of obedience that we meet with other believers, but then also to deal with the pressures of life. Now you might be thinking, Brian, I don't want to go to a group and share all of my deep, dark secrets. That doesn't happen in the first circle. It happens in the second circle. No, I'm kidding. If it does happen in the first circle, please let us know. We will close that circle down very quickly. No, it takes time. You build relationships. And I want to encourage you. If you're like, Brian, well, what if I join a circle, a small group, and I don't connect with the people? Guess what? Totally fine. You're not going to gel and dig with everybody on a close level. Hey, we'll find you another circle. You try and try. I think Pink said it, try and try again. You just got to keep trying. But you should be on a team somewhere, a serving team, a circle team, and so pray about it. Hey, what would that look like on our website? Or you can scan this code. You can find on our website, you can find different circles, different ages, different groups, married, unmarried. There's fun groups that are doing fun things. They're there to enjoy life instead of the pressures of life. But Jethro told Moses, hey, Moses, you're pushing the people away. If you don't have people in your life, when life gets hard, it can be a really lonely road. But you choose that. You get to choose now to push the people away. Guys are the funniest. We're like, man, I got 2 friends. I don't need any more friends. You know what I'm talking about? Like, I got 2 friends. It's like, well, you need more than 2 friends. I mean, even Jesus had 3 close friends. Even Jesus had a group of 12. And then the church, I mean, even God the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, pack of 3. And you need people in your life. The gospel is about the good news. The good news is that Jesus has saved you. You take that good news and you share it with others. And you do life. A lot of the hurts and a lot of the pressures that you have in life, James tells us, how do you heal those things? People. What are the reasons you got hurt? Probably people. But who's going to heal them? People. God forgives, but relationships are, and over time, are what heal us. And so you can either choose to push people away, or you can choose to invite them into your life. Moses was told by Jethro, not only that, hey, this is getting in your head. See, when you feel the pressure, Moses was like, I'm the one. It's comical when people are like, oh, I'm the one at work. I'm doing all these things, nobody else knows. If they only knew. And I'm like, what are you smoking? What are you on? I've thought that before. I'm like, oh man, I'm the only one. I'm working so hard. I'm the only one praying. There's been seasons where I'm like, do people care about people dying and going to hell? And I'm like, yes, they do. But if I'm getting in my head, and that's what the enemy does, he wants you to get in your head. He wants to get up in your grill and cause you to go, hey, you're the only one. And then you start thinking you're the only one, and then you're running the crazy train. The enemy gets in my head all the time, and he'll use my own voice against me. He'll say things like, oh, you should be way farther in your life than you are. You should have, you ever start going to a retirement person? Oh, look out. They'll tell you need to go way farther. I mean, unless you own an NFL sports team, you don't have enough to retire. I mean, those people will get up in your head. You should be farther in this area. You should be farther in this area. The church should be farther. Your kids should be farther. And before you know it, you're just like self-condemnation. And I'll run on that performance P90X track where I feel like I've got to be perfect. But Moses, he was like, I'm the only one. It's like that yelling coach. One time, one of my children had this coach. He was always yelling. He was like, "Ruh, ruh, 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 ruh." And you're like, okay, that might work if the team gets better. If the team is still sucktastic, then it's not working. You need to change your plan. Some of you are like, he just said sucks in the church. Oh my goodness, we're never coming back. But that team was so bad, they did. They were so bad. And this coach was yelling all the time. And I thought, that's what the enemy does. He's accusing you. He's yelling at you. He's coming at you and saying, whoa, you're not doing this right. You're not doing that right. And then you start finding yourself getting in your head. See, not only does it push people away, gets in your head. You know, in 2019, I probably had one of the most difficult years of my life, which stinks because how many of you know 2020 came after that? It's like worst year, one of the worst years of your life to one of the strangest years of your life. Because in 2018, if you've ever had one before, I had this panic attack. I went to the doctor. I do all this EKG, all of these tests, a sonogram. Thankfully, I wasn't pregnant. We were not expecting baby number 6. And then 2019, like literally a year later, I have the exact same thing happen. And it's weird when when it happens 1 year later and then it happens another year later, and it wasn't the burrito that I ate the night before, it was just a panic attack. So if you deal with panic attacks, I know a small glimpse of what you experience, where literally you feel like you're having a heart attack, you feel like, what's happening? You go into the hospital, you get checked out, they find out you're okay. But if you run this performance thing and you let this pressure get to you, this perfection performance, and for me, that's something I've just battled all my life. I love the Lexus logo, that little logo. And it says the pursuit of perfection. Yet for me, that phrase is really from the pit of hell because no one is perfect. If you try to make something perfect, you're in a way trying to compete with Jesus. Because only Jesus is a perfect, sinless Savior. You never will be. And so there should be encouragement in that of like, I don't have to be perfect. I can get the grace of God. His grace is sufficient for me. If there's an area of your life, you're like, Brian, I feel the pressure. I do push people away. The enemy does get up in my head. I do feel like maybe I'm wearing myself out. Hey, you can receive the grace and mercy of Jesus. Aren't you thankful for his grace? Aren't you thankful for his mercy? Aren't you thankful that when you feel like you got to try, you can just receive the grace of God? And so Jethro told Moses this performance track. He said, hey man, it's not going to end well. So you got to decide. You want pressure or you want peace? In my own mind, I've had to quote the scriptures. Hey, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Philippians 4:13. Hey, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. Proverbs 3:5-6. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. It's amazing when we hear worship music, the power of worship. It's amazing when we have the scriptures, we download them, how it changes the atmosphere in our own lives. You're dealing with pressure, start downloading what God says, what the divine says. Start listening to those lyrics on some of those songs. I trust in God, my Savior. I cried and he answered. He heard my prayer. How many times has God done that for you? How many times has God done that for me? So Jethro told Moses this plan. He said, you're going to wear yourself out, you're getting in your head, and you're trying to do this thing alone. And we can choose that plan, which is a plan of pressure, or we can flip the script and we can go, whoa, instead of pushing people away, maybe I should do something different. Maybe I should try a different game plan if it's not working. Well, verse 19, this is what Jethro said. Are you ready? Come on, I know it's Labor Day weekend. You're ready for that day off, but are you ready? This is it. Verse 19, he said, now listen to me and let me give you a word of advice, and may God be with you. So if we want to flip the script, we actually have to listen. Jethro, the father-in-law, came to Moses and said, Moses, I've watched you. You need to listen. Listening is an art. I would say my wife will be in the Hall of Fame of heaven for listening. I probably will not. The other day, we were talking to someone at this restaurant. She was telling us how she had these horses. And as soon as she said horses, I've always been fascinated by horses. I rode one time down this trail. Then afterwards, they told me the horse was half blind. The least experienced rider. Let's give him the blind horse. Some of you are like, that's not funny. You should be making fun of a blind horse. I'm not. I'm just telling you he was blind. But I rode this horse, and I went back to that several years ago. And she's telling me, she gets out her phone, our waitress, and she's showing us pictures of her cute little kids on horses. But I'm like, forget the kids. Hey, how long does the horse live? How much did that horse cost? Hey, tell me about that horse. Is he a good horse? Is he a bad horse? What's the difference between race horses and your horses? Hey, if I could maybe ride your horse, would you let me come to your house and ride your horse? Hey, if this horse kicked you off, would you live? So in my mind, you've got Danielle listening, Hall of Fame listener, and you've got me, Mr. Questions guy. Which, questions are great. We should ask questions, but not always at the expense of listening to what people have to say. I've watched people over the years, and when people bring advice to people, sometimes people blow up. They're like, what do you mean? I don't need to listen to you. Sometimes people throw up. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm not good enough? What do you mean? Sometimes people listen and they step up. So are you a person when someone gives you advice? Can people even give you advice? That may be a question for another day. That's a pride question. But Jethro's coming to Moses, and Moses, in humility, goes, he listens to him. And he says, it says in Proverbs 12:1, anyone who loves learning accepts correction, but a person who hates being corrected is stupid. Wow, how did that get in the Bible? So we listen to correction, students. We listen to corrections, husbands and wives, and we either choose to receive it or we choose to reject it. Now, again, it's got to be godly correction. But I've discovered that most people, if you listen well, you'll live well. Students, listen to your parents, and it goes well with you. You might not like everything they say. You might not like everything the coach says. You might not like everything the pastor says. You might not like everything somebody else says, if it's godly advice. But we've got to listen. How's your listening? I mean, you put the pressure in, and then you ask yourself, who are you listening to? See, not only do we need to listen, what happened to Jethro? Verse 21 and 22. He said, Moses, this is what you got to do. You got to select honest men who fear God, and they will help you. So you mean instead of doing it all myself, pushing people away, I can actually start listening, and I can let others help? Well, there's a thought. You mean listen and let others help? Listen and let others help? Listen and be a part of the family of God? Listen and let people who are Christ followers speak into my life? That's biblical accountability. Most people don't like that word, accountability. I don't want to be accountable to anyone at any time. No, we should always be living our lives open. We're accountable. There's the God reward plan that we stand before and we give an account of our lives. If someone sees something in my life that isn't God honoring, I have some great pastor friends. I have some great pastor board members that can go, hey, Brian, we're watching this in your life. Now, we should all have those people. And then he says this. He says, Moses, in verse 23, if you follow this advice, there's an if. And if God commands you to do so, we got to pray about it. We got to make sure it lines up with God's word. Then you will be able to endure the pressures. And all these people will go home in peace. So we can choose to listen to people. We can choose to let other people help us. We can experience peace or we can experience pressure. I don't know about you, but times when I'm doing it all on my own, I'm like, whoa, this is too stressful. And I love what Moses did. Verse 24, it says, Moses listened to his father-in-law and did everything he said. I mean, imagine listening to your in-laws and doing everything they said. Some of you are like, oh, I'm not sure I could do that. No, but he listened to him and he did everything he said. I learned a lot about pressure by watching quarterbacks, but I've also learned a lot about pressure in amateur sports, specifically biddy basketball. Several years ago, our youngest, when he was 8, he had his first game. Here's a picture of us, first game. Luke, the man with the plan. Look at that. Big baller representing those. Some of you are like, what shoes is he wearing? Jordan 11s, in case you're asking, the Space Jams. But biddy basketball is a sport, honestly, from a professional standpoint and a coaching standpoint, most kids should probably not be playing biddy basketball because the videos that will be shown of them years later will be so embarrassing. It will be hard for them to find a future spouse. Because, kids are out there like this. And then there's that one kid who's like gun-ho. I don't know where he comes from. But there's that one kid who's a little bit gun-ho. He starts shooting every shot. And after a while, I realized, whoa, Luke is that child. He started off the game 3 for 19. Who's keeping stats? His father was. Just in case he makes it to the NBA, I can sell the document that I took the note on later. So he's shooting 3 for 19. Now, how many of you know 3 for 19, that's not very good? Some of you are thinking, yeah, he should try football. He's an ox. We should try another sport, something else. And there's a moment after 3 for 15, well, after about 3 for 9, parents are like, pass the ball, pass the ball. And they're like, whose kid is that? And you're like, pass the ball, pass the ball. Oh man, that kid, he's gonna shoot again, Danielle. Whose kid is that? As you're wearing the same shoes, you're like, I don't know whose parents those are. Pass the ball. And he's shooting. I think at halftime, he was getting a little nervous. And I was like, Luke, just play the game. Just go out there and play the game. Just go out there and have fun. And it's just basketball. You put a ball in a hoop. You've tried to do it 19 times so far, but you just put a ball in a hoop. He was shooting all of these shots. I'm like, just go out there and have fun. So he's going out there, he's having fun. And then there's a moment, I love this moment, where he gets it, he shoots again, and he makes it. And running down the court, because listen to me, all of us, we're running down the court of life. All of us are looking for our Father, maybe our earthly Father, but I believe even more so our Heavenly Father. Running down the court, he looks for his mom, he looks for his dad, and he flashes this. And I'm like, man, my kid's in a gang. I had no idea. He flashes this, and he goes, as he's running down the court, I got 8. I got 8. I'm like, because he had made his 4th basket on like 27 shots. I don't know what it was at that point. But he goes, I got 8. And I thought, wow, that's how you deal with pressure. Brian, what do you mean, I got 8? He was telling us he had 8 points. He made another shot, he had 8 points. And how many of us are running in the court of life, down the court of life, on the football field of life, on the football field of faith? We're running down the court, and a lot of times we're like, I'm 3 for 19. Oh, my spouse, I don't know if it's gonna work out. We got this doctor's report. I don't know if it's gonna work out. My faith is shrinking. Oh, I'm pushing people aside. Oh, I'm getting in my head. I'm the only person that does this. I'm on the P90 performance track. I gotta be perfect. I gotta please maybe the in-laws. I gotta please maybe my family. I gotta please maybe my kids. I gotta please maybe my boss. A lot of us are going, man, I'm 3 for 19. Luke didn't care if he was 3 for 19. He was like, man, I got 8. And it made me think, what list of thankfulness do you have? Like if you go back to the beginning of the scripture, we've got to do that. We've got to list what we're thankful for. See, we've got to listen to people. We've got to let people in, but we got to create lists in our minds and in our hearts of what God has done. Luke wasn't concerned about the shots he missed. He was like, I got 8. If you see him today and you're like, 8, I got 8. He was thankful for what he did have. He wasn't worried about the other stuff. If you go back even to the beginning of when Jethro and Moses sat down, if you check it out in Exodus 18, when Jethro first comes, he sits down with Moses, and Moses tells him about the hardships of the Israelites passing through the Red Seas. He tells him about how good God has been. And then there's a moment in the presence of God where Jethro has a sacrifice, and in God's presence, they're talking about the greatness and the goodness of God. What started the beginning of the text is really the text of how we need to live our lives. We need to download, man, what is it that you're thankful for? 1 Thessalonians 5:18, no matter what happens, be thankful. Tap your neighbor real quick and just say, be thankful. Thanksgiving isn't just once a year. Thanksgiving is now. Thanksgiving is today. What happens? What's happening in your life? You're feeling that pressure. You're feeling it on the inside. You're like, whoa, how is this gonna work out? The new school year has started. You're feeling the pressure. The homework, you're feeling the pressure. Man, what pressure are you feeling? So often we can take that pressure and say, God, I wanna be thankful. Because I know, God, if you've done it for me once, you can do it again for me. God is a good God. He's a faithful God. Church, do you believe that he is good and that he is faithful, that he cares about you? Come on, church, do you believe that he is good, that he is faithful, and that he cares about you? Let's try it one more time. That he is good, that he is faithful, and that he cares about you. He'll take our pressure. If you don't believe me, James 1:5, the half-brother of Jesus, what did he say? He said that character, you're building that pressure, but he says, if you don't know what you're doing, pray. Pray to the Father. He loves to give help. And what will you get? His help. I wonder how many times people load themselves up with the pressure of performance, parenting, and the culture that we live in, and we got to keep up with these people and those people. Instead of really handling the pressure well, we almost implode. We create some unhealthy habits. And in the beginning, we could have chose peace over pressure. Don't get me wrong. Pressure can be a good thing. It makes you, it molds you. Your faith is being forced. What kind of faith do you really have? You want to know? Are you a faith-filled believer? Are you a believer who's growing and maturing? Well, when pressure comes, you find out. Just like when you squeeze the orange, the juice comes out. When you get squeezed with the pressures of life, what's inside comes out. And so today, my prayer for you and for me is that we receive God's peace when the pressure comes. And let's live a life where we listen to people. Let's let other people into our lives to help. Let's create those lists continually. Hey, God, what are we thankful for? What are we thankful for? And if you don't know what to do, ask God. He will help you. Well, right where you are, I want you to take the communion cup sitting right next to you. I want you to just hold that for a moment. I'm going to pray for you. And before we take this communion, communion is simply remembering what Jesus Christ did for us on the cross. He was with the disciples in the upper room. They had that meal where Jesus said, hey, this is a new commandment I give you. Love one another. In Jesus' most pressurized moment, he was like, guys, I love you. Go into the world and love others. It says he took the bread, he broke it, he blessed it, and he gave it to them. And he said, this is my body that's broken for you. Then they took the cup, the wine, this grape juice representing that wine, representing that his blood would be shed for you and for me. So we're going to take this Labor Day weekend. This is a weekend where a lot of our country rests. And that we would have a moment where we just rest in God, where we say, God, I'm going to trust you. God, am I letting people into my life? God, who are the people I need to listen to? God, what's my thankful list? Let's pray. Father, thank you for your word. Thank you for your truth. God, maybe someone listening today would be honest and say, hey, Brian, you're talking about God helping me with the pressure. I don't even know if I know God. I'm not quite sure where I stand with God. I'm not sure if I'm right with God. The Bible is very clear. People who are believers, those are the people who take communion. God invites everyone to his table. But first we have to get right with God. And it means us admitting, God, I've made mistakes. I've sinned against you. But God, I confess with my mouth that I made those mistakes, those fumbles. I turn from my sin and I turn to you. If you'd like to do that right where you are today, just say, God, thank you for loving me. Today I believe that your son paid the price for me on the cross. He died, he was buried, and he rose again.